Yeah, those are messed up. No, bad news is to beat your home, nigga. Yeah. Go on, get on that ass real quick one time. 144, baby.
They said you get on, you gon' represent. I said, of course. Soon as they crank that beat, I ride that bitch just like a horse. She about to go dumb, yeah, bitch, me whole car. You ain't know they call me Obi-Wan. I come with the force. You gon' ride, yeah, of course. Get it lit up like a torch. You even low on this Lord, so that bitch is either or. Yeah, I know them niggas ain't cut like that. I swear I'm to our core. Wait up, let me make a call right quick. I'ma start another war. I was hurting when she left, but I don't care about anymore. I need a Vaseline like my Nina Puffer bar. Took a sock, watch the dark. Matter of fact, like a dart. Any problem, let them come. We gon' snatch they soul like Shang Tsung. Put them out of service, keep them tools like Miss Hopper free. Try to hope it's way too late. I'm headed straight to the safe. Throw that one up like a trophy. I'm that nigga, ain't no debate. Throw them boys, we taking notes. Call them up like set the date. This shit a piece of cake. Yeah, my bitches came from Whole Foods. Told them put on that top 3. Then bring me my house shoes. Don't make excuses, make moves. These niggas ungrateful, gotta show them UPK rules. I make hits like I can't lose. They said you get on, you gon' represent. I said, of course. Soon as they crank that beat, I ride that bitch just like a horse. She about to go dumb, yeah, bitch, the whole court. You ain't know they call me Obi-Wan. I come with the force. You gon' ride, yeah, of course. Get it lit up like a torch. You even low on this Lord, so that bitch is either or. Yeah, I know them niggas ain't cut like that. I swear I'm to our core. Yeah, I just got off the call. I'ma start another war. Spit a plate up with my niggas, get your knife and your fork. They ain't locked in with the count and with the speaking to me fart. Yeah, I just took the floor. Ain't no cowards in my campaign. They can't stop the campaign. Tell them bring the champagne. They know I'm a champion. They can see the outcome. Get them niggas bad, got them tied down and outdone. You can't do with them steppers. Niggas been down since day one. We run up the bands, bitch like Dylan. They say you get on, you gon' represent. I said, of course. Soon as they crank that beat, I read that bitch just like a horse. Yeah, about to go dumb, yeah, bitch, we whole court. You ain't know they call me Obi-Wan. I come with the force. You gon' ride, yeah, of course. Get it lit up like a torch. You either low or this low, so that bitch is either or. I told you niggas, you ain't cut like that. I swear I'm to our court. And I just made it call. We gon' start another war. Yeah.
Shalom, we're live, another Friday night Hebrew class at the headquarters of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Here in Harlem, right where we've been, under Commanding General Yohana, bringing this truth to our people, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans since 1969, that you are the chosen people of God. You are the true Israelites of the Bible. And that means that we must take our culture back. And that's what we're doing on Friday nights when we get into this Hebrew. It is vital to understand the Hebrew, to have an understanding of the Hebrew. It's so important. It's such a part of your spirit. Your spirit does not resonate with English. We've taken English and made it our own because we do that with anything, but our spirits don't resonate with English. Our spirits resonate with our ancient language, this Hebrew. And so we break this down. And we've been diving in lately. We've been diving in to the Hebrew, into the Hebrew characters. We've been learning. We've been using our knowledge of the ancient script and the modern Hebrew script. And so, real quick, we're just gonna run through those for a practice run. Trooper, ready to hit the board? All right, let's go. Today we're gonna dive into Psalms 83. Psalms 83, every Sabbath service, we say it as a prayer. And we send these words up to the Most High in the Hebrew. And we go down through a lot of things there are a lot of scriptural references in there that, might go over your head if you don't know where they come from. A lot of names of groups of people and nations that the Most High destroyed for our sakes. And it's important to understand these things, because we're praying that the Most High does it again to the nations that are our enemies today. And so we're going to dive into this, and the Hebrew gives us insight. It connects us to the ancient culture, to our forefathers that went through these things. as we yearn for the day when the Most High will deliver us from our current oppressors. So, and now everybody, as the trooper just run through the alphabet, the modern and the ancient underneath. And so everybody should be up to date on their alphabet. If you're not, if you're new or if you haven't quite got it down pat, just take a few minutes. Don't be intimidated by these things. Run through them, write them down over and over, say the sounds out loud, let it sink into your spirit. And before you know it, you'll have it. It's not that, I promise you, it's not as intimidating as it may seem. You can learn 2 whole new alphabets in a very short period of time. You had to learn English at one point. The alphabet was a foreign thing to you when you were a child, but you learned it quickly. Just dive into it. And if you need a Hebrew sheet, if you're watching live or if you're watching this later on, just drop a comment. We'll get you an official ISUK Hebrew sheet, which will have the ancient script, the modern script, and it'll have the sounds so that you can sound it out as you go along. So we're just getting a little warm up real quick. The troopers writing the alphabet down on the board. This is our ancient script. This is what's really, really ours. This is what we wrote in, what the original scriptures were written down in, what Moses brought the 10 Commandments down looking like this. And then later on, in our captivities, in our Assyrian captivity, when we were oppressed and carried away by the Assyrians, we developed a script based on their style of writing. We still made it our own, but it's not ours. It's based on their writing. That is what we refer to as the Assyrian, or you might hear the white man call it the modern Hebrew script. And that's what the trooper is going to write down underneath this. And that's what we have the scriptures preserved in to this day. All of the manuscripts that made it down to this day were written in the so-called modern or the Assyrian script. And so it's vital that you know that as well, so that you can open up the Torah and the Tanakh and read from it and dive into the actual Hebrew scriptures. And so that you don't have to rely on the translation. Even though the King James is an excellent translation, it's even better if you're able to go into the original scripts. And that's an important part of doing this. And so underneath the ancient script, as you can see, the troopers writing the Assyrian characters. These match up. So you see the Ah up here in the ancient, and then the Ah in the Assyrian, the Ba, the Ga, the Da, and so on. And sometimes, no matter how well you have it down, you got to pause and go back and forth. But the more you do it, the more it sinks in and just becomes second nature. And that's what we aim for. We strive for perfection. We strive to grasp these things as if they're our own, because they are our own. And we cannot allow the white man who has taken and bastardized our language to have more dominion over it than we have. That's backwards, and we're here to set things right. And as you can see, and everybody at home, anybody watching live, should have out paper and pen and be writing this down. Even if you know it, get a little warm up. If you don't, write it down 10 times until you know it. That's the only way you learn, is just by doing it, by using it, by practicing it. So once we get that, excellent. And make sure to write the final forms of the letters that have. So of course, in the Assyrian script, there are certain letters that have a different form if that letter comes at the end of a word. And the trooper's going to write that, as you can see down there. The Pa has a different form. It comes all the way down if it lands at the end of a word. And just to let y'all know where we're going to be going into Psalms 83. And Psalms 83 will connect with Judges 4 and 5. We're going to run down, whenever we say Psalms 83 is a prayer, we talk about the Midianites and Sisera and Jabin and the Brook of Kishon. We're going to learn who all of those are, and we're going to learn it in the Hebrew. And the Truba has done an excellent job. There you have the Syrian script at the top, running up here. Select the ancient script at the top, the Assyrian script underneath it, and this third row are the letters that have a different form when they land at the end of the word. And this is something that you have to, at a bare minimum, you must master these alphabets so that you can write them, recognize them from memory without issue. If you haven't reached that point, don't be scared. Take a paper and pen, write them over and over until you got it. Write them, download the keyboard in your phone, store brothers' contacts in there in the Hebrew, so it forces you to see it and decipher it. Even if you got to break it down letter by letter in your mind until you can put it together in words. It's the little things like that that help you learn something quick. So you can erase all that. And now, that right there at the top of the board, what does that say? The Holium, which is the word for Psalms in the Hebrew. This word means praises in the Hebrew, and that's what Psalms is. It's a book of various praises, songs and poetry and things, singing praises to the Most High. And this Psalm, number 83, is praising the Most High for the times when He has destroyed our enemies who have all come together against us all throughout history, just as today. Every nation across the planet hates the children of Israel. There is nobody more hated than the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans all across the globe. And that's biblical. So we are going to examine this in the Hebrew. Let's put up verse 1. Start right here. Which in the English, this is a psalm of Asaph. Verse 1 says, "Keep not thou silence, O God," which in the Hebrew is a word that means power. "O my power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power." Because when you get into the Hebrew, you have to break down these concepts that we've had drilled in us from Christianity and from the white man's world and language. And God is something that we is a concept that we have that really doesn't have a meaning. The white man gives us the word God, and it can mean anything. But our language has a very specific meaning. And the word that we know as God is a word that means power, because the Most High is the source of our power. The Most High is the reason that we will be delivered from all the nations that are confederate against us. The Most High is the only reason that we would ever be victorious over anybody. The Most High is our power. So as we go through this, and this is exactly what you'll see if you open up the Tanakh as you would on a Sabbath service and read. This is what you'll see right here. So we're going to start to break this down. We know, or you should know, when you see Elohim, that's the word for power. That's the word that's translated into the English as God. Al-Damiyalika is the next three words. That is, keep not thy silence. Now, al-damiyah, when we say, one of the words that we all use all the time is la'ah. La'ah means what? No or not. It can be negating something. Now, occasionally you'll see and this is negating something. In this case, it's talking about something that is going to happen. This is asking the Lord not to be silent. And when you have a tense like that, you'll use al to negate something. And you'll see it throughout this verse. So then you see al thakarash, hold not thy peace. This is an imperative form of the word. You're asking the Lord not to do this. Wa'al, remember the wa is and, because everything that's a preposition in Hebrew, something that comes at the beginning of the word, whether it's and, if you see a ha, that would be the, a ba would be in. There are various prepositions and they're all attached to the beginning of the word. So then we can begin to break down words. So wa'al dashakwat. So now compare this to the English again. Keep not thou silence, hold not thy peace. Shakwat is the word for silent. Shakwat is a word for, this is a command to be quiet. This is, you're not being polite at this point. This is a command. So in the context of this prayer, that's why this is repeated. And you see in this verse, 3 different ways of asking the Most High not to stay himself, not to be silent, not to hold his peace, not to be still. This is poetry. So you're emphasizing something by using different concepts of the same thing. So dashakwat, dacharash, damiyalaka. And every one of those is negated by ah. Continue.
Verse 2, sir.
Oh, this is the end of verse 1. And this one at the end, this is a different ah. This is Allah, which is power, which is the singular form of power. Continue. Verse 2.
There is.
Nah, just keep going. We got one. So now in this verse, we're going to see longer words, and you have to approach this by breaking down a word to its root word, recognizing words that we see often, and building up your vocabulary so that you can break down the words. Because again, in Hebrew, everything is expanded from a root word outwards. You will add prepositions onto the front. You will see letters on the end that represent possessives. You will see letters in the middle that may change the tense of the word, but at the core of it will always be a short root word. And in this verse, we're going to start to see some common words and things that we can kind of latch onto and build our vocabulary, build our understanding of the language. And so right here, this word kaya is the word meaning for or because. You're going to see this a lot. This is kaya, this is for, and when you say for, specifically in the sense of because. So kaya hana is behold. That's the basis. When we talk about the ancient script, we see a pictographical script, and each of these letters represents a word in Hebrew. That is another way of building your vocabulary if you learn every word that these characters represent. But the ha right here, this letter ha, represents a brother's hand gesturing as if to say, behold. And that's this word right here. So kaya hana, for behold. Now right here, our yabuka. This is your enemies, and this is an excellent word to use as an example of breaking down a word. This is based on the root word ayab. Ayab, and the wa in between is changing the tense, but we're not going to get too deep into that. We're going to focus on the ayab, which is the root word. Our yabuka. Now, that ka at the end is the possessive representing your. So this is your enemies. The young is what pluralizes the word in Hebrew. We have the hayal young for praises. The hayal young. So instead of the young, it's a ya because then we're going into the possessive. So our yabiyaka, your enemies. What else can you identify in here?
Rosh. Head.
Where do you see that? Yes. Rash is head, because at the end of this word, at the end of this verse, it says they have lifted up the head. And that is another example of the pictographical ancient script, because this is represented by the letter for Ra. This is the head. This represents like a stick figure of a man with a head. Keep going. Are there any of these longer words that left that you can break down?
It's not going to go. Ra is and you.
There we go. So now we're breaking down words by identifying prepositions at the beginning of the word, possessives at the end of the word. This is your, this is, and what else you got?
Shana Yaz hate.
So Shana is to hate. So now we have the root word here. And this one word is the thing that is translated into any English, they that hate thee, and they that hate thee. So, and the ones who hate you. And you can start to understand this, not to get too deep into the weeds, but ma is another preposition that means what, Trooper?
Of for from.
Of. So this is of hate. So them and of hate, your. If you can break it down, now you're understanding how that one word becomes they that hate thee. And they that hate thee. What else we got? Nashaw. This, again, the root word here is nasha, which is to lift up, to rise up.
Make a tumult.
Make a tumult. Can you identify the root word there?
Yawa.
You're on the right track. Hama is a tumult, a clamor, a noise, a tumult. And so your one is to make a tumult. What else have we not broken down here? Let's keep going. Let's keep it rolling. This is a long prayer. Y'all know this. So whoever's watching who's been a part of a Sabbath service, this is a long prayer with a lot of references, and we're going to run through it and just show how you can take words, you start to recognize basic words like kaya and na, you start to be able to break down words into their prepositions, their possessives, and then everything else just comes as you go. Verse 3. Verse, yeah, yes. Now we're in verse 3. And after verse 3, we're going to jump around a little bit. Verse 3 is they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. And then that goes into verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So this is a prayer about all the nations that have come up and joined together to hate us, which is something that you see today. That the one thing everyone else on the planet can agree on is hating so-called blacks and Hispanics. And that's what we were praying, thanking the Most High for destroying them in the past, and praying the continuation because this never stops. No matter who gets destroyed, somebody else pops up to hate us after that and to try it again. And based on our obedience to the Most High, that's the basis on whether or not it works every time they try it. So us coming together and keeping the Most High and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and sending up these prayers are the way, that's the way we guarantee our victory against all the nations that come together and are confederate against us. So let's see where we're at. Again, now we're starting to see common words simple words that we can build on. I is a word that means against, over, above. It's that type of transitory word. So this is saying, this is what's translated into English as, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Against ISUK. I is a people or a nation. And Ka, as we just established, is your. So this is your people, your nation. This is, of course, in contrast with the word Goya, which means nations outside of Israel, all the nations other than Israel. But Im is just a general word that means people. It can be a group of people, a nation. It can be us. It can be others. But because this says Im Ka, thy people, we know that it's talking about Israel. Because the Lord only has one people that he chose, that he prefers. The scripture is very, very clear on that. And that's the nation of Israel. And so, ISUK, Yumwa, is based on the word Iram, which is crafty. And again, take note of the different form, this ma, which has this opening, and this ma, because it is the end of the word, is closed off. Always, as you're learning the alphabet, always take note of those little things, those nuances. The Assyrian can be difficult at first because of a lot of similarities and a lot of small nuances that you have to learn. And that's one to pay attention to. Sawad is counsel. That's simple, straightforward. Let's break down this word right here. Can you identify the root word there? Shalom to everybody in the chat.
Wa is end. It's Yatha, Ya'itaza.
Yes. So, Itaza. Again, take note of the difference between the taza coming in the middle of a word and at the end of a word. Itaza is the word for counselor, counsel, consulting. That is that word, Itaza. And so this whole word here is and consulted together. The wa at the beginning means what? And. So Itazawa is and they consulted together. I'll, again, the same word up here. It means against. Break that last word down.
Tazabawan, is yours.
Right. We've been seeing that over and over again in this psalm. That ka at the end represents your. So tazapun is something that is hidden away, secreted, in the sense of a treasure, in the sense of something valuable being hidden away. So this is saying that they consulted together against the hidden ones of the Most High. The Most High's valuable thing that he tucked away, The nations are all gathering together to figure out how to take us down out of that spot. And this little word right here is a perfect example of how the Hebrew makes everything more vivid, makes everything more, brings everything so much more to life. And that's in the scripture as well, in the Apocrypha. But we're going to keep rolling on to verse, I said we were going to jump around a little bit after this. Let's jump down to verse 9. So you can go ahead and erase all of this. And we're going to start at verse 9. And now verse 9 is where we start to go back to Judges, the 4th chapter. So now we can understand who we're talking about when we hear all these names being run down. Because these are all real serious stories from the scripture, events that happened. These are all references to times when the Most High brought us through something. So let's skim through Judges 4 while the brother writes this on the board. In Judges 4, it starts out, the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, the king of Canaan. So let's focus on every time we hear a reference that we know is going to come up on in this song. Jabin is the king of Canaan. I'm going to write that up here. And the Lord sold them, meaning us, the children of Israel, into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan. Which again reminds you that some of these words you got to understand a little bit deeper than surface level. Because clearly the Lord did not sell us in the sense of a business deal. The Lord didn't go down to the Canaanites and go down to their king and exchange money. The Lord allowed us to be placed into their hands. The Lord allowed us to be controlled by the king of Jabin. The Lord delivered us to be controlled by the king of Jabin. And that's something to remember when you break down Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, when you understand what it means for us when it says no man shall buy you. It means that no man, no leader, no black leader will be able to take us back from the oppression of the white man that the Lord put us into until the Lord sends our King Jesus Christ back to do it. Because that's what buy means, take us back as a whole people. It means redeem. And sell, in this case, means that we were delivered into the control of a nation, of the Jabin, the king of Canaan. To continue the verse, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera. So now we know that Sisera was the captain of the army of Jabin. Which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles, and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. So for 20 long years, we were crying unto the Most High, because we were just, for 20 years, this guy Jabin and his captain Sisera oppressed us and did whatever they could do to us. And in verse 4, and Deborah, prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel and Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And of course, think of this in like a motherly way. Don't try and compare this and say, oh, there was a woman judging Israel. There was a woman leading Israel. No. This is a motherly type of, because as you're going to see as we continue through this story, everything that she had, she brought to a man to make the decision on what to do. She was supporting a man in every instance in this story. She was not in charge in any sense of the word. She was a good sister who took what the Lord gave her and put it in the hands of a man to carry it out. And we're going to come back to this after we break down this verse. So we have now verse 9. ISUK, an excellent word which means to make or to do. Lahum is with them. What is this word? Because the ka means what? Like. This ka is a preposition that means like. So it's saying, do unto them as like you did to the Midianites. Keep going. What is this word here? What can we identify right away? Like. Sayasara, as unto Sisera. Do unto them just like the Lord did to this cat right here. And we're going to find out what that like unto Sisera means. What is this?
Jabin.
Like, as unto Jabin. Kayabia. But a call. So this ba is in, but anything that's similar to the word in, because this is a concept that we're translating into a different language, right? So it's not exact the way that you would think of it in English. So this is, in this case, it's really at the brook. Nakal is a brook, a small river at the brook, QADASH of Kisan. Verse 10. Think you can squeeze it in the bottom? Now, as the trooper squeezes in verse 10 on the board, we're going to continue in Judges 4. In verse 6, and she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said to him, hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun. And I will draw unto thee to the river Kisan, to the brook Banakal, QADASH, Sisera, Sayasara, the captain of Jabin's army, of Yabian's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thy hand. And in this verse, she said, hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded? Meaning, she's reminding the brother of something that he was supposed to do. In verse 8, and Barak said unto her, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. And she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Deborah went up with him. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had severed himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zanaim, which is by Kadesh. And they showed Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, was going up to Mount Tabor. So here, again, we see different peoples coming together, confederate against us, plotting on how to get Israelites. Verse 13, and Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him, from Harosheth of the Gentiles unto the river of Kishon. So again, we see that brook of Kishon, everything is coming up here. That's why hundreds of years later, this brother said this prayer exactly like this. Do unto them like unto the Midianites, as unto Sisera, as unto Jabin, at the brook of Kishon. Hundreds of years later, this was such an important event that this brother was just pleading with the Most High to do something exactly like it to anybody that was stupid enough to come up against the Israelites again. So what do we have right here? Verse 10. Nashemad. This is based on this root word shemad, which is to perish, to destroy. By yunda'ar, which that ba again is at, because this is which perished at Endor. And this is ayunda'ar, it's Endor. This Hayawa, this is another example of a word, a key word that we got to learn. This is a basic word that we're going to see all the time. The word here is Haya. That word Haya is the verb for to be. It is the most basic verb in any language. If you learn any language in high school or wherever, the first verb you're going to learn is to be, because it's the most essential thing that you're going to need to know. So Haya in the Hebrew is to be. Daman is refuge. So this is when we say they shall be as dung for the earth. The man right here is the dung. This is dung, refuse. This is absolute filth and trash. And the adamah, this la is what as a preposition? Of la. If you say la yasha'al, this is the preposition for two. So in this case, again, it's a concept that we're translating. So in this case, this is for the earth, but it's, visualize it more than trying to translate it. Visualize it as a concept. They are as dung for the earth. And Adamah is the literal earth that you stand on, the dirt that you put, because this is the prayer for all these people that come up against us to perish and to become as dung or trash. And what is dung? What happens with dung or trash? It deteriorates into the earth and becomes part of the earth again. It's as nothing. It's as if it never was. It just feeds the soil. And so that's why this word here for earth, as opposed to Ratzah, which is a word that you might see, but that's a word for land or the entire earth in general. But this is talking literally about the dirt, the earth underneath your feet. So keep going into verse 11. Erase all that. What's up?
This is Adam. Is that correct? Is
Right.
Adam is from the earth.
Exactly, and that's of course metaphorical, but it's still meant to be visualized. Adam is the color of the earth. Go ahead.
Verse 11.
Verse 6. Verse 11. When the Lord talks about raising us, raising the people from the dust of the earth, how can you visualize a people coming up from the dust and they be white? Just because it's a metaphor, it's still meant to be visualized. So back to Judges, as the brother puts this verse up on the board. In verse 14, and Deborah said unto Barak, up, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not the Lord going out before thee? So Barak, so basically she was giving him a pep talk. She was giving him some confidence. Go on, you got this. So Barak went down from Mount Tabor and 10,000 men after him. And the Lord discomfited Sisera and all his chariots and all his hosts with the edge of the sword before Barak. Meaning they didn't have a chance. Barak's men hit that ground running, and Barak just got to watch all of Sisera's men get their heads knocked off. And the verse continues, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. So it was so bad that Sisera, the captain, is in the back watching all his men get knocked off left and right. He got down off his chariot and ran away. He didn't even try and turn his horse around because his horse was probably about done himself. He got out the chariot and ran on foot. Verse 16, but Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host unto Harosheth of the Gentiles, and all the hosts of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. And so this is probably what Sisera thought he was doing. He thought, all right, they're going to go and look for the chariots and everything. But if I just slip away, I can, get into the trees or something. They won't notice me. Nah, you thought. So verse 17, howbeit Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. So Sisera thought, because there was peace between his master and his house and this guy's house, that his wife would take him in and take care of him. So he went to Jael, the wife of Heber. Now check it, verse 18. And Jael went out to meet Sisera and said unto him, turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. So she came out and welcomed him in. She's like, come on in. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. So she's making him real comfortable. She's taking care of him. Verse 19, and he said unto her, give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him drink and covered him. So she said, you want water? I'll do you one better. I got milk. Because, of course, milk is more valuable. So it's like she's bringing him something better. She's showing him, she's making him real comfortable, mentally, real comfortable. Verse 20, again, he said unto her, stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be when any man doth come and inquire of thee and say, is there any man here, that thou shalt say, no. Because he's on the run. He dipped off on foot, got away from the battle somehow, left all his men with their heads all on the ground left and right. He just took off running and found some place, and now he thinks he's comfortable. Verse 21, then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent and took a hammer in her hand and went softly unto him. And imagine a tent nail. This is not a tent like you going camping. This is a tent they lived in. This nail must have been like this. And this woman took this nail like this while he was sitting there real comfortable. He had just drank his milk. He had a nice big comfy mantle over him. He's laying there going to sleep after the battle that he just ran from. And she took this nail about this long and put it right on his temple and took a hammer. And the scripture says, and went softly unto him and smote the nail into his temples and fastened it into the ground. So she drove that nail from one side of his head through the other and into the ground like she was nailing down a tent. And that's what happened when you thought you was going to come up against the Lord's chosen people. So back to the song, verse 11. Shayathumwa is based on the word shayaf, which is to set or to put. By the Yabuwak Ira, So the Nadiyab is the nobles. This right here, the Nadiyab is the nobles. Ka'irab, like Ored. We're going to find out who Ored is. Wakaza'ah, and like Ze'ed. Wakazabah, and like Zabah. Wakatazalmanai, and like Zalmuna. Kal, which is all, another common word we should be packing away in our vocabulary. Na Sayakamu. Now break that word down. Is there anything you can separate?
The Y at the end is there.
The Y at the end is there. And sometimes this is all we focus on. We're just trying to break down things that are unfamiliar, because this word here, this is the word for princes, but this is a word that only comes up in the Bible 6 times. So really what that's telling you is this is a word that is of the oppression that we were in. We're referring to them with a word that was most likely derived from their language. We're using their word for them. It only comes up 5 times. So sometimes when you see a word that's unfamiliar, at least you can identify what you can. You can see that there is a possessive at the end that's telling you you can start to fill in context. So this scripture or this verse says Shayathumwa, Nadiyamua, Irab, Wakaza'aba, Wakazabah, Wakatazalmanai, Kal, Nasayakamu. Remember again, in English, that is get it exact. Make their nobles like Ored. So set or put their nobles like Ored and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zabah, yea, all their princes as Zabah and as Zalmunna. Let's see. Let's jump to verse 15. And before we see if you can fit 15 under here, because we still have to reach the point where we find out who Ored and who Zeb and who Zabah and who Zalmunna is, and that's coming up real fast. So now, after Jael, Heber's wife, drove a nail straight through one side of Jabin's head to the other, verse 22, and behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, or Salaki through Sisera's head, 22, Jael came out to meet him and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So God subdued on that day Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. The 24, and the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, the king of Canaan. Because once they took out his army and they took out the captain of his army, what's he going to do? So in chapter 5, now they're singing the praises and they're celebrating. And we're going to slide on down And they're making fun of, they even in verse 5, they're even mocking the guy so bad. They're saying that the mother of Sisera looked out at the window and cried through the lattice, "Why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarry the wheels of his chariots?" It's that's ruthless, man. They they took this guy out, and now our ancestors is out there singing in the wilderness, singing a song about how his mother is looking out the window, wondering why he's not home yet. Yo, that's a bar. That's ruthless. And don't ever feel bad. Whatever nation coming up against us, they got it coming. That's why all you soft Negroes out there pitying the white man when he got coming. Stop trying to save your master. He's not your master. Stop being soft. We should celebrate everything they got coming for what they've been doing to our ancestors for 400 years. Everything the Taino Indians went through and the Arawak and the Cherokee went through and the Seminoles went through, everything our ancestors, the blacks in America went through, everything our ancestors in the West Indies went through, on those brutal plantations that they had all types of crazy torture devices on those plantations in the West Indies were infamous. Everything they've done to us to this day, you can't go and walk down through your own neighborhood without worrying that some devil is going to roll up on you and pop you in your head. And you worry, you pitying what they got coming. They got coming exactly what they deserve. And we're going to make songs about it in the kingdom. Now let's see what we got here. This is verse what? 15. Kantharadapnu, which is so persecute them with thy tempest. Kantharadapnu Basa'irika. And this, the root word here is sa'ir, which is the whirlwind or the tempest. This sa'ir is tempest. Wabaso Apathka, and with the whirlwind. Let me make sure I'm getting, and make them afraid with thy storm. So this, make sure I get everything exact. The root word here. So, Kantharadapnu Basa'irika, Wabaso Apathka, the Bahalum. So persecute them with thy tempest. This con, that's the same con that we use for the word end. In this case, for the flow, for the sake of the flow, it's so. So persecute them with thy tempest and make them afraid, which is this right here. Bahal is to frighten or dismay or trouble. Frighten them with thy storm. Sawapah is the word for whirlwind. And the difference between these two words, sa'ir and sawapah, let's look it up. Sa'ir is more like a hurricane. And sawapah is more like a whirlwind. So this might be a good thing to look deeper into. It's always good to research deeper into the words. Sometimes I learn things as we're going through them. I'm going to look into this and see if I can really understand the difference between this Sa'ir and Sa'pa. It's two things that are very similar. It's two different types of storms. So one of these might be a hurricane, one might be a tornado, something along those lines. It's a good thing to look into. But again, we see the your and your at the end because this is your tempest and your storm. Because everything that goes on, everything that happens on the planet is at the Most High's hands, the Most High controlling it. A lot of you soft Christians don't like to shy away from that. Oh, why do these things happen? Why are there storms and tsunamis and whirlwinds and hurricanes? And because the Lord wanted it to happen. Right. That's it. It's that simple. Why are you scared? Why are you scared to acknowledge that the creator of heaven and earth and ruler of the universe has control over the storms? And sometimes he just wants to send a storm, and guess what? There's going to be damage. That's the point. Erase that verse at the bottom. Leave up the one above with Zeb and all of them. And then throw up verse 16 or verse 17. So back to Judges 5. We're all the way up to Judges 6 now. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian 7 years. So after all that, 2 chapters ago started out the same. We read the same thing with a different oppressor. Chapter 4, verse 1, and the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan. Chapter 6, verse 1, and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of Midian. But one theme of the Bible is we do not learn our lesson. And that's why we're here today. If you can understand that, you can understand that those people over there in the land today are not the real Jews. And so now we're in the hands of the Midianites. And verse 2, and the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel, and because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made them the dens which are in the mountains and caves and strongholds. And so the Midianites oppressed us so bad that we had to go up into the mountains and caves and make dens and hideouts. In verse 3, and so it was when Israel had sown that the Midianites came up, and the Amalekites and the children of the east, even they came up against them. And they encamped against them. And take note that the Amalekites are along with the children of the east, because that's where Edom was in the ancient times. They were east of the land of Israel. Verse 4, and they encamped against them and destroyed the increase of the earth till thou come into Gaza, and left no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep, nor ox, nor ass. For they came over their cattle and their tents, they came as grasshoppers for multitude, for both they and their camels were without number, and they entered into the land to destroy it. And Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord. So this is a cycle. We disobey the Lord sends us into the hand of another nation, they oppress us, and now we're begging the Lord for help. Verse 7, and it came to pass when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet unto the children of Israel, which said unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt and brought you forth out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of all that oppressed you, and drave them out from before you and gave you their land. And I said unto you, I am the Lord your God. Fear not the God of the Amorites in whose land you dwell, but ye have not obeyed my voice. And so we slide down. Now the Lord has Gideon up here. And now Gideon is in the picture. And Gideon is asking the angel a couple of verses later, if the Lord is on our side, why are we going through all this? And so now the Lord tells him that he's going to deliver Israel from the hands of the Midianites. And he's going to use him, meaning Gideon. And so you slide them all down. And you get all the way down to chapter 7. And now Gideon, I'm trying to fast forward to where we can identify all of these individuals that made it all the way hundreds of years later into this psalm. And so now in chapter 7 and verse 25, and they took two princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeeb, and they slew Oreb upon the rock Oreb, and Zeeb they slew at the winepress of Zeeb, and pursued Midianite, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeeb to Gideon on the other side of Jordan. And chapter 8, and the men of Ephraim said unto him, why hast thou served us thus, that thou called us not when thou wentest to fight with the Midianites? And they did chide with him sharply. So the Ephraimites were mad that they got left out of the fight. It sounds like some Ephraimites today. It sure doesn't sound like those other guys. Verse 2, and he said unto them, what have I done now in comparison of you? Is not the gleaning of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? And they went down talking about how he got a Oreb and Zeeb. And now in verse 5, give, I pray you, loaves of bread unto the people that follow me, for they be faint, and I am pursuing after Zabah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian. So Zabah and Zalmunna were the kings of Midian. Midian had two kings at the same time, apparently. And Zeeb and Oreb were, there some other people in high places in Midian. And in verse 6, and the princes of Succoth said, are the hands of Zabah and Zalmunna now in thine hand, that we should give bread unto thine army? So now they're talking back to Gideon. They're saying, oh, you must have already got Zabah and Zalmunna since you're ready to eat. You must have already won the battle. You must have Zabah and Zalmunna with you, captive, since you're ready to take a break and eat. And so Gideon said, therefore, when the Lord hath delivered Zabah and Zalmunna into my hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars. So there's a lot going on in this chapter. But the point that we're taking away is now we've identified all of these individuals: Jabin, the king of Canaan, Sisera, his captain, Oreb and Zeeb of the Midianites, and Zabah and Zalmunna, the kings of the Midianites. And these are all individuals at the top levels of the governments that were oppressing us, that the Lord delivered us from. And that's why hundreds of years later, a brother is sending up a prayer, do unto them as unto the Midianites. Do unto them like Oreb and like Zeeb, and like Zabah and like Zalmunna. And ask in the Most High, repeat these acts onto any nation that dared to be confederate and come together against the children of Israel, the chosen people of the Most High. And so now back to the psalm. This is verse 17. Yabashwa. Wash is to be ashamed. This root word here, bawash. And so Yabashwa is let them. Yabashwa, let them be ashamed. Wayabahalwa. And I want to match this up just right with the English. Let them be confounded and troubled. Actually, this would be troubled here. This would be troubled and confounded forever. Eye to eye. This is a type of phrasing that you'll see a few times in the scriptures. Eye is until. So if you see something that looks like this, eye to eye, it's until. That's forever. Wayakaparwa. This kapar is another word for shame. Kapar right here. So the Y at the beginning, again, that's and. The Y at the end, again, is them. Now we're learning another possessive. We see it twice right here. Them, Wayakaparwa, and let them be confounded. Or Salaki here, let them be put to shame. Wayabad and perish. Again, the Y at the end is them. The Y at the beginning is and the abad is perish. And so this verse is real simple and straightforward, and there's a lot of repetition, which is how you start to learn these things, how you start to learn word structures, sentence structures, and just how the language works. You find opportunities to see the same type of word setup repeated. Wayabahalwa, and let them be troubled. Wayakaparwa, and let them be put to shame. Wayabadwa, and let them perish. Eye to eye forever. So again, from the where we start here. Wabashwa, let them be confounded. Wayabahalwa, troubled. Eye to eye forever. Wayakaparwa, and let them be put to shame. Wayabadwa, and let them perish. And that's what we're asking the Lord to do to our enemies, to the enemies of our people. And that's what you should be asking the Lord every day. And whatever soft individuals out there have a problem with praying for the destruction of the people that would gladly destroy your entire family and lineage, no comment. Next verse. Yeah.
Can I erase this off?
Yeah, go ahead. So now we got the rundown. We learned who Jabin and Sisera is. We disobeyed the Lord and got sent to Jabin, the king of Canaan, and Sisera, his captain. Sisera got his army beat so bad that he went on to run. A woman that was supposedly her husband and him had peace, so he came into her house. She took him in and drove a nail straight through his temples. And that was the Lord making her do that. That was a woman of another nation, but she did a beautiful thing. And then Zabah and Zalmunna were the kings of Midian. Oreb and Zeeb were their men, and they all got taken out so that the Lord could show his power. That after every time, and his mercy, because every time through these scriptures, when we disobey the Lord over and over, we get punished, but then the Lord comes back and delivers us. And that is a loving Father in a nutshell. We do the wrong thing, we get punished, but he comes back and gives us our place back in the end because that's how much the Lord loves us and has mercy on us, despite how messed up we have been. And that's real. We just saw the same exact opening 3 chapters apart. We just saw a chapter say, and the children of Israel disobeyed the Lord and got sent into captivity, and they cried out to the Lord, and the Lord delivered them. And then the same thing happened 20 years later. And that's why we've been here for 400 years. And so now, the beauty of it all is that this prayer finishes like this. Verse 18 in the English, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. Because the Lord shows his power through his love for us. He shows his power by destroying any nation that comes up against us. So while you die with kaya, this is that men may know. The kaya again is for or because. So in this context, it's that, because that is saying you're going to do all this that men may know. So that, for the purpose of men knowing. So while you die with kaya, this you die is to know. Why at the beginning, of course, is end. The why at the end is they, that men may know. Atha, of course, is you. Just like when you say the salute to another brother, that Atha is you. Shumka, Shum, another common word that we use all the time. Name, your name, that men may know. Thy name, Yahweh. Labadka is alone. Labad, well, Bad is alone. Labadka. And this is all, again, we're translating concepts more than direct translations. So the la we know is two, the ka at the end is your, but it's implied here. Men may know that thy name alone is Yahweh. LASHAWAN, which is most high. This is the word for highest, most high. I'll call ha'aratazah. Aratazah is what? Earth. Earth meaning, because we made a distinction earlier between earth, like if you pick up a handful of earth, this word aratazah is the earth. Ha, which is the ha'aratazah, the earth. I'll, which is over. Call, which is all. And just like that, Vayadayu Kaya Atha Shamka Yahweh Labadka LASHAWAN, I'll call Haratza. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the most high over all the earth. Keep diving into this Hebrew Keep working on it. Keep practicing it. Keep taking back our language and our culture. With that, shalom, Israel.